We completely confuse what our shadow material is. I have a chapter in my book. It's called Dragons and Their Treasures. At the end of each little section in that chapter, I say, the shadow isn't what you think it is. The symbology and irony is not lost on me of my physical warts being this aspect of shadow that I was trying to cut off and get rid of and remove. Those warts were the reason I thought all of these other first and second graders didn't accept me. These warts became a symbol of my pain and suffering, the cause for why I was unlovable. So they had to go. I didn't accept my warts. Other people didn't accept the warts, and so I cut them off. I thought everything was going to be okay, and it was not. I didn't magically make people love me. It didn't magically boost my self-esteem and confidence. I thought the warts were the unlovable parts of myself. I thought the warts were the bad thing about me, but it wasn't. It was my judgment, my hatred, my self-loathing, my pain. All of those things were the shadow material that I wanted to get rid of. What I realized is that our judgments and shoulds and shouldn'ts about those things keep us in more suffering than the actual things. I share an example in my book about my smile. When I was younger, not too long ago, I would repress my smile. Every time I would feel a smile come up, I would push it down with my cheeks. This whole time, I thought my shadow material was this stupid, dumb, giggly, girly, goofy smile that I had. And I didn't want it. I'm like, girls don't find this sexy. I gotta be cool. I gotta be stoic. When I discovered I was doing this, when I was suppressing my smile, I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. This shouldn't be something I want to suppress and reject. What I did was I started to go into it. And as I went into the feeling of my smile and suppressing it, all of a sudden there was all these sexual things that came up. Again, I want to preface that these were my judgments back then. These judgments and these interpretations of my feelings felt gay. They didn't feel masculine and all of this nonsense. I was afraid of it. I realized, there's a level here that I'm actually suppressing and afraid of this gay feeling, and I've labeled that with judgments and as a shadow material. So I said, are you willing to break through? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to figure out what this really is? I said, all right, let yourself feel gay. Let yourself smile and feel all of this fully. So I did. And as I started to feel it, all of that stuff came up. It started to trigger all of these things. I got really uncomfortable. I said, all right, just go into it. And then what that started to turn into was feminine energy. I was like, this doesn't mean I want to sleep with men all of a sudden. What? No, this just feels very feminine. And then it was like, let myself feel feminine. Let myself smile more and all this femininity come through. And as I did that, I realized it wasn't even about that. It was about beauty. I'm terrified of feeling beauty. And I don't mean just the superficial, look, I'm beautiful. Really the spiritual divine energy of beauty coming and moving through me. I was terrified of radiating that because I felt I'd be annihilated. In the culture I grew up, feminine qualities or anything related to it, being gay, was an insult. Those were just the stories I had. All of those stories turned my beauty, or just beauty in general, into a shadow material, when in fact it was the exact opposite. It's actually this beautiful light. That was one of my first experiences of, oh my God, our ego takes the best parts of ourselves and completely distorts it and relegates it to the trash bin. When in reality, maybe not the surface level of how we see it, but at the deepest levels of where those things come from are some of the most beautiful aspects of ourselves. Other instances of feeling stupid. What could be underneath feeling stupid? Innocence, curiosity. These are beautiful, wonderful things. But when we distort them and mislabel them and misjudge them, they get turned into this Frankenstein of a thing until we face them and integrate them. Looking at the things in ourselves, looking in the mirrors and saying, that's awful. I hate that about myself. I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to feel angry. That's not spiritual, whatever it is. And we can see that. And not only can we accept it, but we can let those things penetrate us. And we can surrender to those things and own them. Through that process, we go deeper and deeper. And when we get to the bottom, we find unconditional love. That's that point where you experience your divinity, where you experience unconditional love. That's something that you can actually feel. That's why the head processes don't work completely, because you're in your head creating more stories, or you're reframing it. Positive psychology is going to say, oh, this isn't a shadow, this is a good thing. Yeah, but that's not what we're doing. We're actually accepting the shadow material so completely, you're not spinning any new story on it. You're actually getting to the purest data. And that requires great courage and a willingness to not only accept, but also fall in love with the things of not just yourself, but of humanity that we find to be some of the darkest things. It's terrifying because we don't want to be bad. We don't want to be evil. We have all these stories and judgments. But when we are not in relationship with these shadow aspects, A, they run us, and B, we don't have access to those resources. Having the ability to be in relationship with these things that in many instances society may deem as not great, but in a few instances could save your life, could save other people's lives, it's really powerful.